The 115th Congress started work Tuesday with Republican majorities in both the House and Senate and an agreement on what their top priority is, which is to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. Now, we just heard from Democrat Paul Tonko, who predicts that without a replacement for that repeal, we could see disaster here in New York. Now we turn to freshman Republican John Faso of Kinderhook for his thoughts. Congressman Faso, welcome back to the show.
Good morning, and great to be with you, Susan.
So how are you settling in? This is your new gig.
Yes, it takes a little getting used to, but I'm settling in pretty well. There's a lot of walking in the job of a member of Congress, and that's good, yes. And but you have to hustle from your office over to the Capitol for votes. And last evening we had a vote-a-rama, if you will. Literally, they stack up about 10 amendments that had previously been debated, and you vote on each of them in a 2-minute period.
Including one on Israel.
That's right.
The UN resolution on Israel.
A resolution taking to task and condemning the United States' support or abstention of the UN resolution, which criticized Israel. So that was all done yesterday, and so it's been an eventful week. It's really a privilege and an honor being sworn in the opening session of Congress on Tuesday. My wife and family and extended family were here with us, and it truly was very poignant and very exhilarating. But most of all, I'm deeply humbled and gratified to have this opportunity to represent the people of our district.
All that said, you didn't hesitate to not support the Republican leadership's move to strip the Independent Ethics Office of its powers.
Actually, the Republican leadership, Speaker Ryan and Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, argued against this motion in our conference, and I supported them. I thought they made very good arguments that whatever the flaws, and there are some with this ethics office in the way it handles things, the way it has leaked investigations, etc., that the way that this was being done was wrong.
And the
timing,
secret caucus vote?
Well, I mean, the caucus always operates in this fashion, and they have a secret ballot on all matters that a member would ask to have a roll call. And the reason they do that is because they want to make sure that members don't feel intimidated, if you will, by leadership in terms of their votes. But I voted against this change in the ethics office. The timing was bad. We should have worked this out in a more transparent way.
Was it tone deaf?
I think it was. And they quickly beat a retreat the next day when the president-elect tweeted about it. And many people, I heard from a lot of people in the district that just expressing amazement that we were doing this. The way it was reported perhaps didn't really get to the heart of what was being discussed, but regardless, the timing was awful, and the substance of this argument should have been played out in public, and it should be done, and this is one of the things I've campaigned on. We should try to make sure that anything we do, we're doing in the open, and we're doing it in bipartisan fashion.
We have to take a break. We'll be right back with Congressman John Faso. My guest today is John Faso, newly minted congressman. It has been a busy week, as you mentioned, with Republicans already outlining how they're going to dismantle the ACA. I'm wondering if you're going to vote for a repeal of Obamacare without first knowing what the replacement will be. A lot of people are concerned about that.
Well, there really are two things that are going to happen. One, there'll be budget resolutions that will wind their way through the process from the Senate and the House, and they will repeal the tax and fiscal underpinnings of Obamacare, the employer mandate, the tax penalty on individuals who don't buy insurance, the taxes on health insurers, the taxes on medical device manufacturers, etc. All of those things are going to be able to be dealt with through a budget resolution. But the substance of what comes after what replaces the policy has to be done in a separate measure. And so here's what I believe. First of all, the ACA is collapsing of its own weight because the insurance pools, many young people have not purchased insurance.
That may be, but there's still millions of people who do get Obamacare, who depend on it.
And there are many millions more who are facing double-digit premium increases. In New York State, the Obama exchanges, we've seen 17% increases this year, over 22% increases for insurance, health insurance generally in New York State. There are other places in the country that are seeing 50 and 70% increases on the Obama exchanges. So the problem with the system right now is that it is collapsing of its own weight. So we do have to replace it. Number one, I think we should have a more patient-centered system. Number two, and that means we need many more options for insurers to be able to offer. One of the fundamental issues with Obamacare, and I frankly felt this back in 2009 and 10 when Congress was doing it, is that it federalized the entire health insurance system, and it did it in a way that made it much more expensive. They eliminated the ability of small business groups, for instance, to purchase insurance together, the so-called association health plans. And that has caused skyrocketing insurance premiums for our small businesses. So we've got to fix this. We've got to reform it. And but I, for one, and I can tell you, I know that Speaker Ryan, we're absolutely committed to making sure that people that need health insurance have available and affordable ways of getting it.
So the question, though, that is on a lot of people's mind is whether this replacement that you're going to come up with is going to cover as many people as Obamacare. Ryan has not committed to that, although Kellyanne Conway has.
Well, in the discussions, what we want to do is allow the insurers, rather than the so-called four metal plans, the bronze, the silver, the platinum, the gold, that are out there now, allow insurers to design plans that are much more flexible for a much bigger market than just simply four plans that are designed in Washington. This is one of the fundamental mistakes that they made in the ACA, and they should not have federalized the health insurance market in this fashion. There are many things that can be done that will allow affordability of health care, allow people to purchase health care using tax credits, for instance, what I campaigned on, let everyone have a health savings account or a flex spending account so they can pay for routine medical expenses with pre-tax dollars. That would benefit many millions of people.
A lot of people are concerned about that kind of thing, the way they are about the 401k plans and mutual funds. That takes a lot of individual effort to make that savings. But, in terms of how you're doing this, how the Republicans are going to be doing this, I understand that it's going to be in two parts, Congressman. So does that mean there will be a gap between?
No. Here's what has to happen, Susan. As you know, when when someone goes shopping for insurance, there's typically an open enrollment period. This typically will be in the fall. The insurance plans for 2017 are already in place.
Sure.
The plans for 2018 are now being designed by the insurance industry, the companies, local companies like CDPHP and MVP and others. I anticipate that much of the changes the reforms that will take place will be rolling out during 2018 and 2019, because that's really when the next time when people will be out shopping for insurance. And by the way, this is something that back in 2009 and 10, the Democrats passed the ACA without any Republican support, and they specifically, you remember when Senator Kennedy died, they specifically, once Scott Brown won that seat in Massachusetts, they used very strange parliamentary maneuvers in order to get it enacted, because they weren't able to do it through the routine order.
And it seems like the Republicans are doing the same thing. So yesterday, House Speaker...
We shouldn't be, and that's one of the things that I have been very fervent about, is that we have got to work with both sides, work with the industry, work with patient advocates, work with our hospitals and consumer advocates to design flexible plans that will suit the needs for the vast majority of our people.
I was specifically referring to the Senate and the elimination of the filibuster. But yesterday, House Speaker Paul Ryan announced that Republicans are also going to move to strip federal funding for Planned Parenthood as part of this process. Are you supportive of that?
I do not think that that's a wise approach. Federal law already precludes federal funding, taxpayer funding for abortions. But many entities, hospitals, nonprofits like Planned Parenthood and others also provide a wide variety of other healthcare services. So while I do not support taxpayer funding for abortion, that's already the law. And I want to look very carefully at any proposals that would go after other entities that are providing healthcare services that are legal and appropriate for patients.
Is that a line in the sand for you?
Well, let's look at the legislation and see what it says. But I've said all along that I don't support singling out any one organization because they may be politically unpopular with some. I don't support taxpayer-funded abortions, and I think most people understand that current federal law doesn't permit that. But that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about basic health care services that are available to women and others who might go to nonprofit organizations for routine medical procedures and hospitals. And I don't think that we should be singling out any organizations unjustly.
So I wanted to ask you about when you might get your committee assignment. I understand that Claudia Tenney got one, but you didn't yet.
Well, I will. I've been told that something is in the offing that is pretty good, but I'm not prepared to announce it yet because I'm waiting until it's on a piece of paper.
The official. Right.
And we should know all of these next week. And I anticipate something very early next week in terms of at least one committee assignment for me, and I anticipate others that will happen shortly thereafter.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Hope that you get what you're looking for. John Faso is a freshman Republican congressman who represents the 19th Congressional District. It's always good to talk with you.
Susan, great to be with you and your listeners.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This program is presented by WCNY Syracuse. Join us again for the Capitol Press Room.